The digital clock on my dashboard read 2:47 a.m. when I finally admitted to myself that I could undrive another mile. My eyelids felt like sandpaper, and I'd caught myself drifting into the rumble strips twice in the last 10 minutes. The white lines on Interstate 40 had started blurring together about an hour ago, and now my body was screaming for rest. I'm a pharmaceutical sales rep, and these long drives between clients are just part of the job. Usually I plan better, but a meeting had run late in Little Rock, and I'd foolishly convinced myself I could make it back to Nashville in one shot. 6 hours into what should have been a 7-hour drive, I was paying for that arrogance. The rest stop appeared like a beacon in the darkness, one of those older facilities that hadn't been updated since the 1980s. The sign was partially burned out, reading, "Our Saint Area" in flickering orange letters. As I pulled off the highway, my headlights swept across the empty parking lot. There were maybe 4 other vehicles scattered across the expansive lot, a semi-truck parked in the commercial vehicle area, a beat-up sedan near the restrooms, and 2 cars I couldn't quite make out in the far corner. The building itself looked tired and forgotten. Brick exterior, flat roof, those industrial-style windows with the wire mesh inside the glass. A single overhead light illuminated the entrance, casting everything else into deep shadow. The bathrooms were in a separate structure about 50 feet from the main information building, connected by a cracked sidewalk lined with overgrown bush. I parked under one of the few working streetlights, grabbed my purse, and locked my 2019 Honda Accord. The October air hit me with surprising chill. I'd been running the heater in the car and had forgotten how cold it had gotten. I could see my breath forming little clouds as I walked quickly toward the restrooms. The women's restroom was exactly what you'd expect from a rest stop at 3 a.m. buzzing fluorescent lights. One flickering on and off, cracked tile floors, and that particular smell of industrial cleaner fighting a losing battle. But it was empty, and right then, that's all I cared about. I did what I needed to do, washed my hands, and splashed some cold water on my face to wake myself up. That's when I heard it. The outer door opening and closing. Not unusual, right? Except there was something about the sound, or rather the lack of sound that followed. No footsteps. No stall door opening, just silence. "Hello?" I called out, immediately feeling stupid. Why was I announcing my presence? Nothing. Just the fluorescent buzz and the drip, drip, drip from a leaky faucet. I dried my hands quickly and grabbed my purse, ready to leave. But when I pushed open the inner door to the small vestibule area, I froze. There was a man standing there. Not in the bathroom, but in that little entrance area between the inner and outer doors. He was just standing there, facing the outer door, his back to me. Tall, maybe 6'2" or 6'3", wearing a dark jacket with the hood pulled up. His hands were at his sides, and he was completely still. My heart started hammering. This was wrong. Everything about this was wrong. "Excuse me," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You know this is the women's room, right?" He didn't move, didn't turn around, didn't acknowledge me at all. For about 3 seconds, I considered just pushing past him and running to my car. But he was blocking the only exit, and something about his unnatural stillness made me terrified of getting that close to him. "I need to get by," I said, louder this time. That's when he tilted his head. Not turning around, just tilting his head to the side in this slow, deliberate way. Like he was listening to something I couldn't hear. I backed up into the bathroom, letting the inner door close. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone. No service? Of course there was no service. I was in a concrete building in the middle of nowhere. I stood there trying to think. There had to be another way out. I looked around frantically, but no, just the one entrance. The windows were too small and too high, and they had that security mesh anyway. I waited maybe 2 minutes, though it felt like an hour. Then I carefully, quietly pushed the door open just a crack to peek out. He was gone. The vestibule was empty. I could see the outer door and the parking lot beyond through the scratched plexiglass window. My car was right there, maybe 100 feet away under that streetlight. I pushed through both doors and walked fast toward my car, keys already in my hand. My finger was on the unlock button when I saw him. He was standing next to my car. Not touching it, just standing there beside the driver's door, his hooded face turned toward me. I stopped dead, maybe 20 feet away. Every instinct was screaming at me to run, but where? Back to the bathroom, that was a dead end, the semi-truck. I could see the cab was dark, the driver was probably sleeping, and I'd have to bang on the door to wake them up. The other cars, I had no idea if anyone was in them. "What do you want?" I tried to sound strong, but my voice came out as barely a whisper. He didn't answer. Instead, he started walking toward me. Not running, just walking with this steady, purposeful stride. I ran. I didn't think, didn't plan, just turned and sprinted toward the main information building. It was locked, of course. It was locked at 3 a.m., but there was a covered area with picnic tables and vending machines. At least there was light there, and it was closer to the highway where someone might see me. I could hear his footsteps behind me. Not running, still just walking, but faster now. I reached the covered area and spun around, putting one of the picnic tables between us. He stopped at the edge of the light, maybe 15 feet away, and then I saw his face for the first time. I wish I could tell you he looked like a monster, like something inhuman, but he didn't. He looked ordinary. White guy, maybe mid-30s, clean-shaven, short brown hair. He could have been an accountant or a teacher or someone's dad. It almost made it worse. He was smiling. Not a big smile, just this small, slight upturn of his lips, like he was enjoying a private joke. "Your car is unlocked," he said. His voice was calm, conversational. "I noticed when I walked by. That's dangerous, you know. Anybody could get in." My blood ran cold. He was lying. I'd locked it. I always locked it. But then I remembered that moment of distraction when I'd seen the rest stop sign when I was so tired. Had I actually heard the lock beep? "Stay away from me," I said. "I've called the police." "No, you haven't." He took a step forward into the light. "There's no cell service here." I checked. He was right, but I wasn't about to admit it. Instead, I grabbed my phone and held it up. "They're on their way." For the first time, his expression changed. The smile faded, and he looked at the phone with something like annoyance. Then he looked past me toward the highway, and his eyes narrowed. I risked a glance over my shoulder. Headlights. A car was coming down the highway. When I looked back, he was walking away, not hurrying, just walking back toward the dark corner of the parking lot where I'd seen those other cars. Within seconds, he disappeared into the shadows. The car on the highway passed without slowing down. I stood there for probably 10 more minutes, shaking, watching that dark corner. Finally, I saw the lights of another vehicle coming down the exit ramp, a pickup truck. I ran toward it as it pulled into the parking lot, waving my arms. The driver, an older man with a gray beard, rolled down his window looking alarmed. "You okay, miss?" I told him everything in a rush. He immediately called 911 on his phone, apparently. His carrier had service here and stayed with me until the state troopers arrived 20 minutes later. They searched the rest stop but found nothing. The beat-up sedan was gone. The other 2 cars in the dark corner were empty, apparently abandoned. One trooper told me that rest stops attract transients and that ID probably just encountered someone mentally unstable or high on drugs. But I knew better. The way he'd known about the cell service, the way he'd waited by my car, the way he'd spoken to me that wasn't random, that was calculated. The troopers followed me to the next town and waited while I checked into a hotel. I didn't sleep at all that night. I kept seeing that smile, hearing his calm voice saying, "Anybody could get in." A week later, I got a call from one of the troopers. He'd been doing this for months, they said. Targeting women traveling alone, waiting at rest stops in the middle of the night. I was lucky, the trooper told me. The woman 2 weeks before me hadn't been. I still drive for work, I still make those long trips, but I never, ever stop at rest areas at night anymore. I'd rather pull over and sleep in a well-lit gas station parking lot. And I always triple-check that my car is locked. Sometimes I still think about that smile. That calm, friendly smile from a face that looks so normal, so ordinary. That's what haunts me most, the reminder that monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they look like anyone else standing in the fluorescent light of a rest stop at 3 a.m. I need to tell you about what happened to me and my family 3 years ago, because I still don't have answers and I don't think I ever will. My wife thinks I should just let it go, move on, accept that some things don't have explanations. But how do you move on when 6 hours of your life are just gone? It was July 2021, and we were driving from Chicago to visit my parents in Atlanta. Me, my wife Rachel, and our two kids Emma, who was 8, and Tyler, who was 6. We'd done this drive a dozen times before. Always the same route down I-65 through Indiana and Kentucky, then picking up I-24 through Tennessee. About 14 hours total with stops, which we usually broke up over 2 days. But this time, we'd gotten a late start, and I decided to push through and drive straight. That was my first mistake. We'd been on the road for about 8 hours, and it was getting close to midnight. The kids were asleep in the back, and Rachel was dozing in the passenger seat. I'd been fighting to stay alert for the last hour, chugging gas station coffee and blasting the AC, but I was losing the battle. Then I saw the sign, rest area, 2 miles, perfect. I'd pull in, splash some water on my face, walk around for a few minutes to get the blood flowing. 20 minutes, tops, and then we'd push on. The rest area was one of those newer ones, well-maintained with good lighting, those brick buildings that look almost like a visitor center. The parking lot was about half full, not surprising for a Saturday night in the summer. I pulled into a spot near the front under a bright LED light. "I'm just going to run to the bathroom," I told Rachel, who'd woken up when we stopped. "Watch the kids?" She nodded sleepily, already pulling out her phone to check messages now that we'd stopped. The men's room was clean and bright and blessedly empty. I used the facilities, washed my hands and face, did a few stretches to work out the kinks from sitting so long. I felt better already. I checked my watch, 12:17 a.m. We'd make good time if we left by 12:30. When I walked back out to the parking lot, I stopped. Our car was gone. For a second, I thought I was confused that I'd walked out the wrong door or something. But no, this was definitely the front entrance, and I could see the exact spot where I'd parked. There was an SUV there now, parked in our space. My heart started pounding. Had Rachel moved the car? But why? I pulled out my phone to call her. No service. Okay, don't panic. She probably just went to a different parking spot for some reason. Maybe Emma or Tyler woke up and felt sick, and she moved closer to the bathroom. I walked around the building, checking every row of parking spots. Our Cara silver 2018 Toyota Highlander wasn't there. None of the vehicles even looked similar. Now I was starting to panic. I went back inside the building to the main information area. There was a security guard at a desk, an older black man who looked up as I approached. "Excuse me," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I parked out front maybe 10 minutes ago, and now my car is gone. My family was in it, my wife and 2 kids. Did you see anything?" He frowned and checked some kind of log. "What kind of car?" "Silver Highlander, Illinois plates." I rattled off the license number. He shook his head slowly. "Haven't seen it." "You sure you parked out front?" "Yes, right out front, under the light." In the second row, he stood up and came around the desk. "Let's take a look at the cameras." We went into a small office, and he pulled up the security feed on a computer. He rewound to about 12:10 a.m., right around when I'd parked. The camera showed the parking lot, that second row clearly visible. I watched myself pull in, park, get out of the car. I could see Rachel's head in the passenger seat, the kids' car seats in the back. "There," I said, pointing. "That's us." We watched as I disappeared into the building. Rachel looked at her phone for about a minute, then put it down. She appeared to doze off again. Then, at 12:14 a.m., according to the timestamp, something strange happened. The video glitched. Just for a second, the image pixelated and jumped. When it cleared, our car was gone. The spot was empty. "What the hell?" I said, "Can you replay that?" He did 3 times. Each time, same thing. A brief glitch, and then our car simply wasn't there anymore. There was no footage of it driving away, no footage of anyone getting in or out. It was just gone. "That's not possible," the guard said. "These cameras don't glitch like that." "But it did," I said, hearing my voice rise. "And my family is missing." He immediately called 911. Within 15 minutes, 2 state troopers arrived. I explained everything again, showed them the footage. They took it seriously, I'll give them that. Within half an hour, there were 6 more police vehicles, multiple agencies involved. They put out an Amber Alert for Emma and Tyler, a BOLO for Rachel and our car. They questioned me for hours. At first, it was gentle, they were on my side, trying to help. But as time went on and there were no leads, no sightings, no nothing, the questions got harder. Where had Rachel and I been before? Were we having marital problems? Had there been any custody disputes? Was I behind on any bills? Did I have any enemies? I answered everything, agreed to everything. They searched my phone, ran background checks, even brought in dogs to see if there were any traces of my family in the woods around the rest area. Nothing. The sun came up. It was 6:47 a.m. according to the clock on the police car where I was sitting, wrapped in a blanket someone had given me even though it was July. And then my phone rang. It was Rachel. I almost dropped the phone. I grabbed it so fast. Rachel! Oh my God, where are you? Are the kids? Marcus? She sounded confused. Why are you calling so much? We just stopped at a rest area. Where are you? What? What do you mean? You vanished. It's been almost 7 hours. 7 hours? Now she sounded alarmed. What are you talking about? You went into the bathroom like 5 minutes ago. I ran to the parking lot, the troopers following. And there it was. Our silver Highlander parked in that same second row spot like it had never left. Rachel was standing next to it, holding her phone, looking completely confused. Emma and Tyler were just waking up in the back seat. The troopers stopped in their tracks, hands moving toward their weapons. "Ma'am, please step away from the vehicle," one of them said. What followed was hours more of questioning, but now they were questioning Rachel too. She kept insisting that they'd been there the whole time, that I'd only been gone a few minutes. She'd dozed off, she said, and when she woke up, I still wasn't back, so she called my phone. But her call log showed only one call to me, the one at 6:47 a.m. My call log showed 17 missed calls to her. Starting at 12:22 a.m., the security footage was even stranger. They pulled it up again, showed us. From Rachel's perspective, from the timestamp, there was no gap. One continuous video from 12:14 a.m. to 12:18 a.m., showing our car parked there the whole time, Rachel dozing, the kids sleeping. No glitch, no disappearance. But from my perspective, I'd watched that same footage hours earlier, and the car had vanished at 12:14 and didn't reappear until 6:47. The police didn't know what to make of it. They took statements from everyone, made copies of all the footage, ran tests on the car, nothing, no drugs in anyone's system, no signs of abduction or foul play, no technical explanation for the time discrepancy. Eventually, they had to let us go. What else could they do? No crime had been committed. Everyone was safe. But here's the thing that nobody can explain. I lost 6.5 hours. Rachel and the kids lost maybe 4 minutes. We were in the same place at the same time, but somehow we experienced completely different timelines. I've researched everything I can think of. Missing time phenomena, temporal anomalies, even crazy stuff about parallel dimensions and time slips. There are other stories out there, other people who've experienced similar things, especially at rest stops and certain stretches of highway, but no explanations, just stories. Rachel doesn't like to talk about it. She says it was probably some weird fugue state I experienced, that maybe I fell asleep in the bathroom and dreamed the whole thing. But that doesn't explain the security footage, the timestamps, the call logs. The kids don't remember anything unusual. To them, Dad went to the bathroom and came back a few minutes later, and then there were a lot of police cars and Daddy looked scared. We finished the drive to Atlanta the next day. Neither of us slept. We haven't made that drive again since. When we visit my parents now, we fly. I still have nightmares about it, though. I dream that I walk out of that rest stop bathroom and the car is gone, and this time Rachel never calls. This time I search forever and I never find them. The worst part is not knowing. Did we slip out of sync with reality somehow? Did I experience real time while they were frozen? Were they even there, or had they disappeared into something and returned? I've gone back to that rest area once about a year later. Daylight this time, with a friend from work for backup. It looked completely normal. I talked to the same security guard. He remembered me, shook his head sadly. He said he'd worked there 23 years and had never seen anything like it. But then, as I was leaving, he said something that still makes my skin crawl. "You're not the first, though," he said quietly. "People have stories about this place. About time getting weird." I never believed them until that night. I asked what he meant, but he wouldn't say more. Just gave me this look like he'd seen something he could unexplain and had decided it was better not to think about it too much. I think about that night constantly. 6.5 hours of my life where I was awake, alert, terrified, searching for my family. 6.5 hours that, for them, never happened. Time that existed for me, but not for them. Were we in the same reality during that time? Are we in the same reality now? I don't have answers. I don't think I ever will. All I know is that something happened at that rest stop, something that doesn't fit into our understanding of how the world works. And somewhere out there, maybe someone else is walking out of a rest stop bathroom looking for a car that's no longer there, about to experience the longest night of their life while their family sleeps through 4 minutes of time. I hope they find their way back. I really do. Most people think nightmares only happen when you're asleep. I used to think that too, until one followed me while I was wide awake, driving through the dark with fog rolling across the road like it was alive. This happened a few years ago, but I still replay it whenever I'm alone at night. Sometimes I wonder if telling this story is a mistake, because I don't think what happened to me was random. I think I was chosen. It was late, somewhere between 1:30 and 2 a.m. on a long drive from Kansas City to Denver. I'd taken that route before, same highway, same exits, same nothingness stretching on forever. I liked driving at night because it felt quieter, safer somehow, less people, less chaos. That night, thick mist had started to creep across the highway. Not full fog, just enough to blur the edges of the world. The road felt narrower, like it was closing in. My headlights cut through the haze, but only barely. Everything beyond them felt swallowed. I was tired. Not falling asleep tired, but that heavy, dull exhaustion where your thoughts slow down and your body just wants stillness. When my GPS calmly announced a rest stop ahead, I didn't hesitate. I needed to stop. The sign read Prairie Creek Rest Area, open 24 hours. I remember thinking how empty that sounded. When I pulled in, the mist seemed thicker here, clinging to the ground and curling around the light poles. The parking lot was mostly empty except for a few semi-trucks parked far away, engines idling low like distant breathing. The overhead lights flickered softly, casting uneven shadows that stretched and twisted across the pavement. I parked close to the restroom building and locked my car out of habit. The moment I stepped out, the cold hit differently sharp and damp. The air smelled like wet concrete and gasoline. Something about the place felt wrong. Not dramatic. Not obvious, just uncomfortable. Like standing in a room where an argument had just ended. Inside the women's restroom, everything looked normal. Too normal. Clean sinks, buzzing fluorescent lights. A mirror that reflected me looking more tired than I felt. I splashed water on my face, took a deep breath, and told myself to stop being stupid. When I checked my phone, there was no signal. That's when the unease crept in stronger. I walked back outside and felt it immediately. That sensation people talk about, the one you can't explain, the one where your body reacts before your brain catches up. I wasn't alone. I scanned the parking lot, heart starting to beat faster, and that's when I saw him. He stood near a dark sedan several spaces away. He wasn't walking, wasn't leaning, wasn't doing anything. Just standing there, facing the restroom building, facing me. He looked like an average guy, mid-40s maybe. Jeans, hoodie, hands in his pockets. Nothing about him screamed danger, and yet every instinct in my body told me something was wrong. The mist curled around his legs, making him look half detached from the ground. I tried to rationalize it. It was late. Anyone would look creepy under flickering lights and fog. Still, I hurried to my car. I locked the doors and sat there for a moment, embarrassed by how hard my heart was pounding. I laughed quietly at myself, telling myself I'd been watching too many scary videos. Then I looked up. He was closer, not by much, but enough. I watched him through my windshield as he slowly closed the distance. No rush, no hesitation, just steady, intentional. I turned the key. The engine hesitated. That half-second felt endless. When the car finally started, I looked up again. He had stopped moving. His head tilted slightly, like he was studying me, like he was deciding something. I put the car in reverse. That's when he smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It didn't reach his eyes. It was small, controlled, almost satisfied. Then he walked up and knocked on my passenger window. The sound was loud inside the car. Too loud. I froze. My mind raced through every scenario at once. I shook my head, mouthed sorry, and gestured that I was leaving. He knocked again, harder. My chest felt tight. I shook my head more firmly. That's when his expression changed. The smile dropped instantly. His face went blank, emotionless. He leaned closer to the glass and mouthed something I couldn't hear. Then he reached into his hoodie pocket. I slammed the gas. The tires screeched as I pulled out of the lot, adrenaline flooding my system. In my rearview mirror, I saw him step back slowly, watching me leave like he'd expected it. Like this was part of the plan. I drove for nearly 20 minutes before my hands stopped shaking. I told myself it was over. I was wrong. Headlights appeared behind me. At first, I didn't think much of it, but the car didn't pass. It stayed the same distance back. I changed lanes. It followed. I sped up. It matched my speed perfectly. That's when fear really set in. I tried calling 911. No signal. The mist thickened, swallowing the road behind me. The headlights burned through it, unwavering. I felt trapped like prey being herded. Then the high beams flashed. Once, twice, my stomach dropped. I remembered his smile. I remembered his calm. And then I saw the driver clearly for the first time. It was him. Same hoodie, same face. But here's the part that still haunts me. He wasn't alone. There was someone else in the passenger seat. A man, maybe early 20s, pale, staring straight ahead. He looked terrified. Later, I'd learn his name was Evan Miller. But at the time, all I knew was that he didn't look like he wanted to be there. I took the next exit at full speed, barely managing the curve. A gas station came into view like a miracle. I pulled in, jumped out, and ran to the door screaming for help. It was locked. The clerk stared at me through the glass, frozen. The sedan rolled past the entrance. This time it slowed. The driver looked at me. Then he looked at Evan. Evan lifted his hand weakly and tapped on the window from the inside. The car drove away. Police later told me Evan Miller had been reported missing 3 days earlier from a rest stop in Nebraska. They never found him. They never found the man. And 2 weeks later, when I checked into a motel in Colorado, there was a note slid under my door. 2 words. Almost again. I don't know how many rest stops he's been to. I don't know how many Evans there were before me. But I know one thing. Somewhere out there, a man is still driving at night and sometimes he lets you go.